Okay, so here we go. This is it. This is stress and coping. Learning outcomes is to define stress and how it affects us. Explain the nature of stressors and describe how people cope with stress. We're on 29. Okay, so stress is a person's response to anything that's threatening or challenging. Okay, basically it's a fight or flight response. Okay, anytime you hear stress, it's really about fight or flight or freeze, actually. And so fight or flight or freeze is the short word for that is stress. And so for human beings, we are the most stressful animals on this planet by far and away. The reason why is we can think about the past and predict about the future. And our brain really can't tell the difference between a lion that can eat you and public speaking. To your brain, to your body's sympathetic nervous system, it reacts to both of those the same. So it could be any kind of event. It could be positive and negative. Being stressed out when you're on vacation. Some people say vacation is the most stressful event of the entire year. Well, people think that vacation is the time to relax. Well, when you have travel and you got to, go from place, get on planes, get on boats, and what have you, well, that can be very stressful because it's not normal for you to go through this every day. There's a cataclysmic event, like natural disasters, tornadoes, affecting hurricanes, earthquakes, anything like that can be a major stress on someone's life. Personal stressors, major life events, death of family, negative consequences, but those generally fade in time. I know even when someone very important dies, through time you've learned to cope with that, and it doesn't affect your body as much as it did, 2 years ago. Okay, remember, stress is something that's physical. It's not mental per se. It's physical. It causes hormonal imbalances to occur, your heart to increase, blood pressure to go higher. It affects your sleep. And so there's so many different, stress is as physical as it is psychological. There's post-traumatic stress disorder. These people experience something very traumatic in life, whether it be war or something, something that a person's a victim of, whether it be beaten or raped or something happened to them as a child, or things that are very traumatic to an individual can have long-lasting effects on that person. And they also, they have problems sleeping, they have flashbacks, maybe they can't trust being around males, or a lot of war veterans can't be around fireworks on 4th of July. And so it can be, post-traumatic stress disorder is something that can be treated. It takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication by the patient. And then you have your background stressors, which are just daily stuff that come with just life. Getting annoyed with your coworker, or you got a stack of papers that you need to get to, or you're behind in your work or your school work. Doing this assignment right now. Having to do your summary. All those can be background stressors, and they're just daily hassles that you have to go through. High cost stress, well, it's not healthy for your body. Prolonged stress can cause some permanent problems with your body. For example, if you're always under stress and you're not dealing with those stresses or relieving stress some way, what tends to happen is, since your blood pressure's up, your arteries constrict, you're more likely to have cardiovascular disease. You're more likely to have cancer. You're more likely to have all these other diseases out there that one way or another are somewhat, or at least partially, are all related to stress. And so being able to learn how to deal with stress is very important. Learning how to be healthy, and that's the key, being healthy. It's tough to do, believe me, I know. Is very important when it comes to dealing with stress. psychophysiological disorder. If you have a lot of stress in your life, your psychology can affect your physiology, your physical problems. Maybe pain. Chronic pain can be a psychophysiological disorder related to stress. Someone who's always stressed out is more likely to experience more pain. Chronic pain, a daily amount of pain. And so being able to learn how to deal with stress will actually help you with your pain. And hopefully be less pain. So right here we have a graph showing someone who's going through a stress. First this is called gas. And first, this is a general term, GAS, gas. I forgot what it stands for, but this is the gas. So you have your alarm, whatever's making you stressed out, alright? Whether it be, you just found out you have a paper due tomorrow. That's your alarm. You just found out, now you're freaking out. Then you have resistance. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to panic? Are you going to get a hold of the teacher? Are you going to do the work, get it done really quick? And then after all that negativity, you are exhausted. You just kind of lay down and you're exhausted from the day. And this is a result of not being able to cope effectively with your major stressors in life. Stress can also have a big time effect on your immune system. Someone who's constantly stressed out, again, the sympathetic nervous system is always on high alert. And, when your sympathetic nervous system is always on high alert and always going, well then your digestion messes up, your immune system messes up, and it causes harmful effects to your body, prolonged stress. Like I was telling you, human beings are the most stressed out animals on Earth. You take a gazelle in the middle of the safari, or somewhere in Africa, right? They're less stressed out than we are, and they can be eaten at any moment. Because when they're not eaten, or when they're not running from an animal, from a lion, they're not stressed. They're just eating. They're just focused on whatever they're doing right then. The only time they get stressed is in the actual event of being chased by a lion. That is it. And once that event is over and they happen to survive, they don't think about the future. They don't think about what just happened. They get back to what they were doing. And they're not nearly as stressed out as we human apes are. The ability to predict the future, to think about the past, is what causes so much stress. We are too smart for our own good sometimes when it comes to stresses. Ways you could cope with stress. First of all, you have emotion focus. Try to focus on your negative, focusing on positive focus emotions. Instead of getting stressed out, turn those emotions into something else. There's problem focused coping, where you have a problem, you have something that stressed you out, and now go to that source where the stress is coming and focus on fixing that or doing something with that stress. And then avoidant coping, wishful thinking, drug or alcohol use, overeating. This tends to make things worse in the long run. Sometimes some of you don't like to do your homework, and so you avoid it, and now you have zeros. So avoidant coping is not the best way. Usually problem focused and emotion focused, the combination of those two are usually the best way to deal with stress. Again, I've talked about learned helplessness before, where we've pretty much given up on something. For a lot of people, it's math. People just don't even try with math anymore. They just learned helpless. They just gave up. And like I've said before, it's like the elephant in the circus who's been tied up all of his life. And sometimes they get to that point where the handler doesn't even need to tie him up, because they just learn to accept their faith and not even, or fate, and not even try to walk away from wherever they're not even tied up to. They just believe that they're tied up. Also, another thing that's good for stress is having a good social network, social support. Being around people that you like, friends and family, often help with stress. It's because it's enjoyable, and being around people that you like being around with is it's good for the health and good for your stress levels, and it's a good way to cope. So effective way of coping with stress, whatever is challenging you, focus on it, control it, do something about it. Make threatening situations less threatening. Okay, change your attitude about it. Change your goals. Take physical action. Exercise is very good for your body, if you're, especially if you're always stressed. Because after you're said and done, it turns on your parasympathetic nervous system, and you relax. It feels really good to work out, and then after workout, maybe not during the workout, but after the workout, you have these endorphins going on in your brain, and the dopamine levels in your brain. And you feel very relaxed, and you're not so stressed out anymore. And prepare for it. It's going to happen. Stressful things will happen. They do. It's just part of being alive. And that is it. That is the last chapter. Thank you. You made it.